So the background options are all done. You can switch between image, color, none, gradient, and that's all working. So today I'm going to work on the social media links. We're going to add that to the user edit page, and let's put it right after this card. We'll just copy this card over so that it will be a card underneath the background options card. For half of the videos, I have recorded the voice at the same time that I recorded the coding. For this video and some of the others, I'm doing it the other way, where I record the video of me doing all the coding first, and then afterwards I add the audio so that I can speed up parts so that you don't have to watch me slowly typing out every single word. So I'll speed up some aspects and I'll go at regular speed during the most important parts. Put in the comments below which way you prefer. Would you rather have me doing all the coding in real time with the regular voice spoken while coding, or do you prefer it this way where you get the speed up version on the code? So here I'm going to copy the select statement that we have from the admin page where I'm doing a social sites listing, and I'm going to paste that in and then modify it using an inner join so it is specific for this particular user. When in doubt, if you have working code somewhere, reuse it. We are going to do an order by based on the priority, and in the next video I want to show you how we make drag and drop priority for any table. That's one of the Wizard's Toolkit features. It's a combination of SQL triggers and PHP and JavaScript. So it takes very little coding on your part. It's part of being in a low-code development environment. It uses PDO, which is the PHP data object. You can use just question marks and pass in parameters ad hoc, but it's better to have your parameters defined, in which case you put the colon before it, then the parameter name, and then you pass it as an array to the actual SQL. And what I just did was I changed the initial select statement so it uses user UID, and then that way it is consistent throughout the PHP page. All of the select statements or select queries will be using the colon user UID, and therefore they can share the same SQL filter. The WTK build data browse is one of the most powerful functions in the Wizard's Toolkit. It allows you to just pass in the SQL or the select query and then the PDO SQL filter so that nobody can hack your system, and it will build a table with all the columns, and you can add in extra parameters that you pass for column alignment or header sorting and a bunch of other features, including like more button features. We just need a very simple one here for the social links, but I am going to make a separate file for it to call when they're being updated. For example, if the person had 30 social links, then you would need navigation to go from page to page, because generally we only show 20 on a page, and if they want to see the number 21 through 30, you would allow them page navigation. The last parameter here, or the fourth parameter there, is showing the page, the PHP page that will call for navigation. And the parameter after that, the fifth parameter, is showing whether it should be modal window for the glow edit page and glow add page pop-ups. And then that way you're not leaving the original page, you're able to edit the page in a modal window. The glow del page allows deleting of data, and you pass the table name, and if you're using the del date functionality where you have a column called del date and you use that to set what time and date a person tried to delete the data, but then you don't really delete it, instead you just hide it You could do that by adding del date to the end of your glow del page after the table name. I removed the del date from user links because we don't want to keep people's deleted user links. We want to actually delete it. And so by assigning glow del page the name of the table, user links, it will automatically handle that in Wizard's Toolkit. It will add the delete button to the browse box, and when you click it, it will call a JavaScript function that will call a Ajax PHP page that will pass the information and delete that one row. Nobody can call that page that isn't logged in, because if they're not logged in, it won't pass the API key, in which case it will not delete the data. So it is still a secure system. There's a couple different ways to make a PHP page in Wizard's Toolkit. This time, since I'm just doing a very small modal page with just a couple of fields on it, I'm just copying it from one of the demo pages that we have in Wizard's Toolkit. Wizard's Toolkit comes with a demo folder with a bunch of different demo files, including one on pets, and this particular file is a pet note modal window, and it already has all the HTML that I like, with the mod footer for the modal footers and right justified for the buttons in the modal footer, so that it has the save and the cancel buttons right there. So it has everything I want. I'm just going to modify it by changing the pet data information to use the user links information. Here I want to have it do a lookup on the social sites data. And we're going to want to save the UID of the social sites, but show the website name of the social site. And so with the social sites, I am using the del date as null, because if a social site becomes unpopular, we can delete it, but we don't want to break the data for somebody who has previously added it to their user profile. So here we just set, and the first field is the user links, which is the table name. The second field is social UID, which is the column in user links that we are updating. And then the other columns are calling the social sites lookup values. I see that it's in the root folder. I need to change that. All right, back it out. There it is. And here you can choose which of these social sites, which we manage in the admin back office, my actual GitHub link. And when we save it, we see it did not update properly. Okay, so let's look how everything is connected. Here we have the user edit.php page, and here it is calling social edit.php. All right, that's working. And when this saves, it is calling social list. Here we see, well, it's calling save, and then the save is going to go to the social list.php. So let's look at these different pages. All right, to make it all work, we need to have a div around the browse. And the reason is, when the social edit calls this go to social list, it needs to know what div to refresh and fill the new data with. All right, so to do that, what we do is we have a div with an ID around the browse, and then the same div name needs to be part of the form ID. And to make things a little bit less confusing, we put an F in front of the ID. So form ID F, and then the social div, name F social div. And then here we have it called the social list. And on the buttons, for the modal update buttons, it's going to use the save functionality, so it saves everything. You don't have to worry about the saving process. Wizard's Toolkit handles that. And then it's going to update the div. If we look at this, that creates the modal save button. And the modal save button is right here. You see the second parameter is the div. The third parameter is close, yes or no, and it defaults to no. And then append, yes or no, and defaults to no. We're not using the append feature today, so I won't go into that. What it does is it sees if there's a tiny MCE, and if so, it destroys it, so it doesn't have problems later. If you have required fields, it checks all the required fields associated with your form ID, and we know that the form ID is going to be F and the div ID. And if there's any problems with the required fields, it will alert the person and say, hey, you have to fill this in. And then it calls the URL that you're posting to. And then down here, it says if the div is not blank, if it's a widget refresh, it does special things for widgets. If it's appending, then it appends the information, the response, which can be useful at some times. Otherwise, here you can put in your own special page code, or the default is if it's main page, then it does a page translation, such as going to the bug reporting main page. Otherwise, it verifies that the element exists for that div, and if it does, it fills it with the response data, which in this case will be social list. And on the social list, we just have it showing the list, and it knows that the Glow user UID is going to be filled with the user ID of the person who's currently logged in, because that's all part of the Wizards Toolkit login process, which is passed by an API key, by the way. If we look up here, we see, well, it's doing the form data, and that will also pass in the API key. Here's where it's appending the API key to the form data. So now let's look at how it works. See, and now it's refreshing. And if we look at the browser tools, let's do that again. Here's my LinkedIn. And we see that here's social edit, here's the save, and the save is using the social list as a required field, so you don't see that called separately. But there's the list that is returning, and that's why we see it right here. Alright, thank you for watching, and I will be posting the next video really soon. That will be on drag and drop for prioritizing, so these can be prioritized any way that the user wants to see it. For now, if I refresh this, you see the second one showing up right there. Subscribe for more on the business of programming.